about to embark on a great journey. Let the new age of enlightenment begin.
Hello, and
All
welcome
right.
to Bomb Squad Matinee, where we provide serenity through podcasting. I am your host and master of ceremony for this evening, Tim M. Sullivan, and I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Austin Zwiebelman. All the calendars I own have Bicycle Day on them.
Hell yeah. And we have a returning guest coming back from The Avengers and Iron Man on his first episode of the matinee format. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephen Tronicek, and I have a shitty shelf full of movies behind me.
Woo!
It's the best thing you can possibly have. Look at all these. The movies aren't shitty. The shelf is just shitty.
Yeah, we've all been there. I need far more IKEA furniture than I already have, but there's no room for it. But today, we are gathered to discuss the 2010 film Beyond the Black Rainbow. This is the debut film from a director I've been dying to talk about on this channel, Panos motherfucking Cosmatos. Just a brief introduction. So Panos Cosmatos is the son of the late Yorgos Pan Cosmatos, better known as George Cosmatos. He's directed such films as Rambo: First Blood Part 2, Cobra, but most importantly for this episode, he directed a film called Tombstone, which our boy Panos Cosmatos, at the age of 19, worked on as a second unit video assist operator, and his royalties from working on this film are primarily what funded Beyond the Black Rainbow. Now, some people might say that this is a case of nepotism, and I can't exactly say you're wrong, but like if your long con is working on your dad's movie as a video assist operator second unit, and then saving money for 17 years to work on your passion project in the hopes that maybe Frodo Baggins will watch your movie and produce your next one 8 years later. I don't know, do what you want. You do you.
Got a good backstory.
Yeah. But, yeah, so Panos made this film in 2010, and of course in 2018 he made a much more famous film called Mandy, which I've referenced
what was that called?
Many times on the show. I'm wearing the t-shirt, I got the poster, I got the movie palette.
I can't read your t-shirt. It looks like it's in cursive or something like that.
Yeah, it's the death metal font. But yeah, I love Mandy. It's my favorite movie of the 21st century. It just speaks to me a lot, and I'm gonna go absolutely ham when we finally do the Mandy movie night in 2028. But today, we're talking about Beyond the Black Rainbow. So let's talk about the director of Beyond the Black Rainbow before we get into that, though. Let's talk about our thoughts on Panos Cosmatos as a director. Austin, we'll start with you.
I was hoping we could lead with something really cool. Could we start with Steven?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Stephen, go ahead.
Okay. So here's the thing with Panos Cosmatos. Like, I think... let's talk about like modern day horror / science fiction aesthetic, okay? And how necessarily the mainstream culture has eaten those things alive. Because
Right.
I think Panos Cosmatos, like, there's a lot of guys out there who have a specific vibe to their lighting, a specific vibe to the sound design in their films, and admittedly, there are points whenever it does feel a little bit try-hardy. It feels like, they've put it assumed. They've put it onto it. And I think something I've always enjoyed about Cosmatos is that it does seem to be coming from a very genuine place. You know, there are certain horror film directors, like, I'm not going to say necessarily who I think it really is. Let's just talk to me. But there's a few horror movie directors that they take these signifiers, these modern aesthetic signifiers of how you're supposed to shoot these things, and they feel really, really, really thin with the actual aesthetic, like the way they're using that aesthetic to tell the story. And I never felt Cosmatos was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even in moments whenever his films do have a little bit of thinness to them, which I'd say Beyond the Black Rainbow is probably the thinnest thing he's made. I mean, it was made for about $1.1 million. Like, I have a lot to say about Mandy, actually, as well, as a progression from this movie. But he's never been a guy that feels particularly like... It seems like it comes from a genuine place for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also smart enough to back himself up for the most part. Like, the aesthetics and the sound design do actually say something towards or contribute something more towards the actual general vibe or like the general mise-en-scène in a way that he even talks about theoretically. You know, there's that Nerd Writer video about how he's like, oh, you can use film grain as its own sense of place, as its own sense of this is where the film's coming from. This is how we're supposed to interpret this story. And I think, you know, he's very smart about it. He's good at that. I'm happy moving on from Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I do. I whenever I rewatched it this time, I was like, oh, right, I remember liking that more than Mandy. I don't know what I was smoking. Like, that Mandy is definitely a step up from kind of what they're doing necessarily story-wise in this movie, because it actually creates characterizations around what this movie is trying to do. But that still is to say, this is a very good, very engrossing little movie right here. And Cosmatos, I think, actually manages to back his ass up as far as his aesthetic signifiers and why he's trying to do these things. Unlike a few other horror filmmakers that I definitely did not mention.
You didn't say a name of a director. You sure didn't say a name of a director.
I didn't say a name of a director.
Or directors, plural. You didn't do that.
No. There's not two of them. There's not.
Who's the guy who did the Halloween remakes again? Not Rob Zombie.
David Gordon Green.
It's David Gordon Green.
Thank you. I forgot his name.
Which he started out good. I don't know what happened. Like, he clearly had a vision at first, but something happened along the way, man.
It must have been the patriarchy.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Not that that's affecting things, but I don't. Not that that's not affecting things. It's just more like, that's a whole other conversation. I don't want to get into the weeds on David Gordon Green right now.
Yeah.
That feels like a studio note thing, and him just deciding to start taking them.
Yeah. Yeah.
George Washington is not a studio movie.
Yeah.
Righteous.
All right.
But also that Cosmatos
Yeah.
Cabinet of Curiosities is really cool. And
yes.
Peter Weller's excellent in it. And that one's good.
Yeah, 100%. I actually wanted to do a bonus episode on Cabinet of Curiosities, like just the whole series when that came out. I was gonna have that with Rain and Joe V, but it just never came together. But yeah, The Viewing is easily the best episode out of that thing, because it's the only one that doesn't just look like a Netflix movie. Like, Panos Cosmatos comes in and is just like, okay, I'm gonna make a Panos Cosmatos movie. Got it. Right. But the other ones were just like, we're gonna make a Netflix thing. And like, some of them were pretty good.
The David Pryor one's pretty good.
I think The Viewing is easily the standout of that series. But yeah, good shit all around. Austin, thoughts on Panos?
One of the big draws about Panos Cosmatos' filmography for me is how everything he makes looks like the SpectreVision logo. He once said in this interview with Phil Brown of ThatShelf.com that Beyond the Black Rainbow, one of his goals was to create a film that's reminiscent of those VHS covers in the horror aisle that he used to see at a video attic growing up.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's sort of distinct about Panos Cosmatos amongst the other, like, neon noir. I don't know if anyone's allergic to that phrase. Neon noir kind of crowd.
Yeah.
Got like Nick Winding Refn, David Robert
I'm
Mitchell,
allergic.
Chad Stahelski, if you think about it. But his movies capture that kind of creepy, nostalgic quality we associate with certain films of the 80s. And there might be a trove of interesting reasons Panos solely makes movies in specifically like 1983. But we also do have it on the record that before he made Beyond the Black Rainbow, he told a publication he set it in 1983 because he thought it would be funny to set it the year before 1984.
Yeah.
But he's also got these grim, like, political undertones and evil cults, so he kind of toes the line between seeming irreverent and kind of deep, which kind of imbues his pictures with that elusive midnight movie quality. Like, when you go into a Panos Cosmatos film, you're guaranteed to get some nice crowd engagement moments every now and then, sprinkled around these very pensive, atmospheric sequences. Not to mention, Panos Cosmatos comes across like a filmmaker who actually knows a thing or two about psychedelic drugs. I'll talk about that later in my review. But both of these movies have a really novel visual tricks that they employ to simulate the perceptual changes people experience when they're taking hallucinogens. Like his weird spinning light rigs with all the gels, inserts of like strobing colored lights, composites of floating dyed liquids in slow motion, the good stuff. There's a decent amount of like disingenuous drug trip stuff in movies and TV, like stuff like people smoking a blunt and then they turn into Disney cartoons. But the way Panos accurately nails the way LSD affects people adds to this kind of like extreme cosmic feel of his pictures. In the age of like A24 hipster excellence, Panos Cosmatos kind of represents a slightly more subversive underbelly of like the modern art house movement that may be too odd for mass appeal. Not that we have enough films to know that yet, but he performs really well for his niche. People who are invested in this niche. And I'm always happy to like give him more exposure because he feels like somebody who is going to blow up someday, even though it seems like he can only make one film a decade. So far, the rise up has been steep. And I'm excited to talk about this movie. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah. Good stuff all around. Specifically the drug thing you brought up, it reminds me of when I was in the senior thesis class in college. One of the films, I won't say who directed it, but one of the films was about somebody accidentally consuming some acid, and the director of that film, when he was presenting it to the teacher, was like, I did some research for this film, and I did mushrooms, and the teacher's just like, okay, you didn't need to do that. But, you know what? Maybe you do. I don't know, because a lot of people don't fucking get it right, but...
I didn't know Ari Aster was in your class at Webster.
Hey, that's a guy who can back his ass up most of the time.
Yeah.
With his, most of the okay, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Listen. Leave Bo's Afraid alone.
Listen. I think most of that movie is successful. The best scene in his filmography is in that movie.
Hell
and it's
yeah.
the Parker Posey thing. That is the funniest thing I've seen in a movie in a long time.
It's so good.
Oh god.
But
Just
we already
eyes bulging out of his face.
we already did the Bo's Afraid podcast though, so time to talk about
dear.
some Panos.
Yeah.
So again, kind of going back to my senior year of college, around towards the end of my second to last semester was when I was starting to hear about a movie called Mandy, and I was also doing pre-production on my senior thesis film, and I was at that time developing a film that I just didn't have any love for, and then I went into that movie, and I walked out of that movie, and I told myself, that's the kind of movie I want to make, and then ended up a few months later completely revamping my movie, and I partially at least have Mandy to thank for that. Panos Cosmatos is a director, like we've been saying, just absolutely brimming with style, and it all, like Stephen was saying, comes from a very genuine place. And it feels like more elegantly crafted than a lot of directors do it. Like yeah, you have a lot of psychedelic lights and like trippy lighting going on, but it's just so well done in his movies. And we kind of talked about how he makes his movies. Basically, all three of his movies, counting The Viewing, have been period pieces. The Viewing is 1979, so that one's not 1983. But all these period piece movies he does, they manage to like capture sort of the essence of the period without doing the Stranger Things thing of just blasting you with fucking pop culture reference after pop culture reference after pop culture reference. Like you have like songs from the times that kind of make it feel like you're in that time, and you know, technology of that time and aesthetics of that time. But like we were saying, it feels much more genuine coming from him than a lot of modern directors are able to do that. And he definitely has like some particular themes he likes to tackle. You know, toxic masculinity, cult worship, drug use, the male gaze is definitely a thing in these movies. I also read something, he specifically is like very anti-boomer in his movies. Like he hated the way boomers kind of had this sort of thing about seeking enlightenment through spirituality and using psychedelic drugs to enhance your mind. Basically, he just hated all that hippie shit.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely comes from a genuine place. It's like, we're seeing the drugs being used, but we're also seeing sort of these older kind of authoritarian figures who think they are on the path to enlightenment, but are actually just completely fucking full of themselves. And that's definitely something I'm gonna get into when we get more specifically into this movie. But yeah, love all three of Panos's directing features thus far. I've learned today that he apparently produced 2 Miley Cyrus music videos this year. Haven't seen them, but now I'm curious. And he has 2 films in pre-production. One is called Necrocosm, which we don't know a whole lot about. And then the other one is Flesh of the Gods, which is supposedly a vampire movie starring Oscar Isaac and Kristen Stewart. So I'm excited as hell for both of those movies, because I know they're gonna be nothing if not interesting. But you know what else is pretty interesting? Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I looked into the eye of God. Look back to me. To everything. Rosemary. So beautiful. Like a black rainbow.
Let's get into it. Our thoughts on Panos Cosmatos' debut film. We'll start with Austin.
Okay. Have either of you read the Wikipedia article for this film?
I glanced at it earlier, yeah.
Okay, I know that sounds like a question like a 13-year-old would ask after he discovers a Serbian film, but I meant it sincerely. The Wikipedia article for this film is curated like this is a Kurosawa picture. It's got write-ups summarizing the themes, the movies it's paying visual homage to, the movies it's accidentally paying visual homage to. It's so well done. I actually stalked through the version history thinking I was going to find Panos Cosmatos' Wikipedia account. or like whoever it was. I figured it would either be him or like the director's best friend. This is a non sequitur. I did a Jersey Shore fist pump when I found out that the 1966 flashback was intentionally styled after Begotten. That movie may be slower than watching Dirt Shift, but it's got really interesting themes and a genuinely singular aesthetic. It was something like 10 hours of processing on an optical printer for every, 1 minute of film or something. That movie is a labor of love. I wish the director would release the 4K already, because he's got it, I think. And that's kind of like my less than novel take about Beyond the Black Rainbow. This movie is painfully slow, which sometimes evokes, the oppressive feeling the protagonist is experiencing. And sometimes it feels like everybody in the editing bay was taking psychedelics. And while it's very cool to tailor an experience to people who are, taking mind-enhancing drugs, that old story about the Motown Records engineer who was, mixing hit songs for, shitty car stereo speakers kind of comes to mind. You could make a trip movie that plays well for sober people. Illustrated decades ago by, The Holy Mountain, and 8 years after this with Mandy, the follow-up feature from this director. And for anybody out here who's feeling a little alienated about this spiel because they've never dropped acid, I'm about to drive right off the fucking cliff. So there are a couple of Panos Cosmatos staples that occur in Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy. Examples being like the guy who's lost in drug trip world forever, talking to a ghost in his car. Some poor bastard getting stabbed directly in the mouth, and melting faces meant to symbolize taking way too much LSD. But the one that jumped out as me as a possible load-bearing motif is Ronald fucking Reagan giving some ominous speech over the airwaves.
There was symbolic bludgeoner wouldn't show up.
There was a tweet I saw a while back that was just name a movie where the villain is secretly Ronald Reagan. I'm like, well, it's Mandy.
I feel like you might know people who made short films like that. The themes are a little bit kind of shittily strung together, but they got a royalty-free piece of footage from the news that they put on the TV at the end of the fucking short film. I know this because I did that too!
Well, actually, well, yeah, never mind. Well, that would be a bit of an interruption, but we did I have done Morning in America was in one of the short films, and then also, we did a short film where the protagonist is going to shoot himself and is quite hysterically saved by over the radio hearing that Ronald Reagan was almost assassinated, and that's a whole other bag of worms.
That owns, dude.
You need
nice.
Yeah, I'll send you that link. That's a film I'm very proud of. I think it's pretty funny.
This fucking rules. Thank you. So, dude, one of the write-ups in the Wikipedia article for this film really lit up my brain. Reading this as a movie, as Tim was talking about this, as a criticism of baby boomers being the same generation that grew up in the revolutionary counterculture movement, then eventually braced the individualist conservatism of Ronald Reagan. A shift that is represented here as if by parable, via Michael Rogers' character, Dr. Barry Nile. In a flashback, the flashback that is styled after Begotten, although with regrettably more Spartan with the texture and tones, in my opinion, it's revealed the culmination of this new age acid cult's endeavors was to heroic dose a man with highly concentrated liquid LSD and then send him into the black natal goo to be reborn as something more. And afterward, the sad fact becomes apparent. Through misguided use of psychedelics, some can begin to chase this unachievable elevated state. Referenced here quite charmingly by the paradoxical nonsense phrase, the Black Rainbow. A non-existent state of ascension that turns you into a real asshole while you're chasing after it. Instead of granting wisdom and expanding Barry's consciousness, he can only look further inward. There's this sort of murderous narcissism, not too different from religious hysteria, that ensues. Like some baby boomers, the only thing he manages to bring back from his voyage outside our reality is this cyclical sense of self-importance, likely stemming from the trauma of how insignificant LSD makes you feel during the temporary collapse of your ego that happens. The baby boomers voting for Reagan is this interesting contradiction that can be explained as reductively as saying, like, well, the teenagers grew up and realized they needed money, or through, like, the hard mental calculus of pondering what voyages into deep hallucination actually does to people's souls. This movie takes these overly long pauses as an invitation to think about kind of lofty psychedelic concepts, which isn't a bad angle for a first-time director with good taste and kind of big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And for those among us who, like, didn't spend their teenage years trying to score phenethylamines, this movie is among the frontrunners for, like, the best-looking neon noir synthwave movie competition. Not necessarily because, like, technically it's the craziest thing ever, but just because, like, the compositions they made look so goddamn wonderful. They just had that fucking special sauce. The first time I saw this 15 years ago was just because I saw the trailer, and I was like, well, that looks like a movie I'm gonna watch right fucking now. I actually got an Amazon Prime free trial, forgot to cancel it. I paid $100 to watch this movie the first time. So to sort of wrap up, Beyond the Black Rainbow is kind of like being handed like a prison, with the expectation that you will supply the beam of light. Like, it's cool in your hand, and it looks sleek, but it seems intended for use with something that likely doesn't come in the Blu-ray case. I'm giving this film like a 6.5 out of 10 for, like, the film itself, viewed without hallucinogens. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah, good stuff. All right, Stephen. I'm definitely interested to hear your thoughts, because like you had said, you had initially thought that this movie was better than Mandy, and opinions have changed, so I'm curious.
Well, I think it really just comes down to, I think everything that Austin is saying is correct. I think that what the movie and what Mandy does really, really well, in a way that, again, other directors who don't have these that don't really ground their thematic ideas within something that aesthetically works with them, long legs, that's not a good movie. But anyway, I think this movie manages to actually get towards those political ideas, mainly because I think it's really simply putting itself towards them. Whereas, like, an issue with Long Legs is the fact that it doesn't actually have any sort of interesting narrative progression, i.e. it, like, creates a mystery and then keeps the one part you in the dark about the one part of the mystery that you already kind of know is the problem the whole time, and then just, like, drops it on you in a really, really, really uncompelling, like, second act montage about the villain, which he does again in The Monkey. I don't understand why that's a screenplay fallback. But this is a movie that at least does have some very natural progression through its themes and ideas. We start out with the doctor talking to the young woman with the understanding that if he turns on the prism, then it shuts down the young woman's, like, power or psychic powers necessarily, or so, which of course is very obviously, okay, this guy is able to capture this, has been able to capture this young woman that actually contains something of value, something of this force, but he's able to, like, quell it. Then he uses it and focuses it towards killing this woman who seems to be kind of going after them a little bit, at least looking through their files, taking a look at those things. Like, this is all pretty easy. I think the movie really opens up during that Begotten sequence. One, because it just stylistically goes straight to hell. Like, whoa, like, I really forgot it took that white, like, bleach bypass turn, just, like, everything's white. But on top of that, it becomes very obvious that, like, the actual characterization of the doctor comes into sharp relief because of how he relates to the older man that's with him. So watching it this time, I perceived that the older man is the guy who gave him the drugs in the first place, and has sort of, the older man has fallen apart completely. He needs to be taken care of by this person. This is the end this is like the end goal of what happens whenever you consume the younger generation and use the wealth to consume the younger generation. That's the end goal of what happens. And then I think one thing you left out, Austin, is that the fact is that as a result of taking all those psychedelic drugs, they kill somebody. Like, they take somebody out, which is, again, I think the film is perceiving that it's the woman's mother or so, but they, like, sacrifice this other woman to and unleash this thing. Like, they give something up, which, admittedly, I don't know if this movie is necessarily tasteful enough to kind of like deal with the fact that it's like, oh, everybody just murdered a bunch of women and it turned into a whole clusterfuck and blah. I don't know if it's tasteful enough to really deal with that necessarily tonally. It has its heart in the right place though, which is the idea that these people decided to take the actual take the ideas and take the revelations they had from taking these psychedelic drugs and cause real world violence and cause real world harm as a result. I do think the movie gets into interesting territory once it gets past that begotten sequence, because basically the structure of it becomes woman escapes the place while the guy basically, while the doctor basically kind of falls in on himself necessarily. And I think that pacing wise and even budgetary wise, you can tell when the movie kind of reaches the point where that $1.1 million ran out. They just had to kind of, which there's parts of it that actually kind of work. Like the fact that once the doctor gets outside and is quote unquote going after the woman, it doesn't really work. It's kind of ridiculous. The camera work, any sort of aesthetic signifiers kind of fall apart. It just turns into kind of a weird, like, funny, oh, this guy stabbed him in the neck, but then just bad things just happen to him anyway. Like, it's just it mostly holds together because, again, there's a lot of prescient political and historical theory and a lot of prescient ideas behind the like psychedelic trip part of it. But I would definitely say you can tell when it kind of runs out of budget, to say the least. I would also say that something that I think Mandy manages to be as like a high step up from this film, it just comes down to characterization. Because the cult leader in Mandy is very similar to the guy in Beyond the Black Rainbow, and that he is an infantile, pathetic piece of shit who is using these drugs to draw people in and under the guise of like the actual, this is going to help us reach a higher plane of existence, but he's really just using it for some sort of selfish gain. But what I love about Mandy is that Panos decides to actually characterize that in a way that the movie, in a way that feels a bit more plotty, and therefore we can engage a little bit more with it. Like, there's a reason why we get a sequence like the cult leader lulling Mandy in, which is probably the best sequence of that movie, where he's lulling her in and suddenly the fucking film grain changes and the color divide changes. Like, I think he definitely he took a real swing at this one with like all of these aesthetic ideas, all that stuff, and it come from a genuine place. Mandy does feel like the actual moment where he's like, oh, I can figure out how to iterate these aesthetic ideas and use them as storytelling tools in a way that's not quite present here. I would argue that my favorite scene of this movie, though, other than that begotten scene, is the scene where he's talking to his wife after having transferred into the Black Rainbow, just because the guy, he can hold the, Michael Rogers can hold the scene. Like, it's a good moment. Admittedly, that is bumping into the moment whenever the movie has kind of run out of budget. And it's like, we just need to shoot this in 2 real close-ups. Put the tungsten light on the other side of the screen. Just underlight the shit out of it. Rim light his face, that's it. But it's but it's pretty good. I will say, I also think I'm left with the ending feeling a little underwhelming to say the least. Like, she just is out, and there's this shot that feels very awkwardly composited of like the suburbs that she's walking into, and it's like, I get it. I get what you're going for. There's part of me that wants a little bit more here, though. Yeah. I would also probably land on like a 6.5 out of 10 on Beyond the Black Rainbow. I like the one scene where she's like crawling through the thing and the vampire dude's in there, though. That's kind of cool. Where all the audio cuts out. There's some funny audio editing in this movie, I'd say. Where it's like, oh, we can't afford it. Wait, let's make it silent. It's a choice. That's cool. Don't worry about it. Just roll with it. And it works. It actually does work. But there's moments where it's like, okay, I see what you had to do there. I see what you had to figure out there.
All right. Were you going to say something?
Sorry, I'm just imagining Panos Cosmatos getting everybody together on set, like to have a John Gage listening party. He's like, you're not going to believe this composition. This is what we're going for.
But yeah, no, it's mostly a very good film, and it has a lot of great ideas in it. Yeah. That are characterized maybe a little bit better 8 years later in the next movie, but that is what it is.
Yeah, for sure, and good stuff all around. I pretty much completely agree. I definitely think that this is a lot more underbaked than Mandy and The Viewing.
Underbaked. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. But yeah, I do think it's a very interesting movie. Like we've talked about, just the visuals of it. I think the cinematography in this movie I might like more than Mandy. Like that one aspect I might like more than Mandy. It's tough. They're both very strong image-wise. And I just love, the architecture of this movie, I think, is something that's really visually appealing to me. Very, you're talking about how the Wikipedia lists all of the possible influences and definite influences. A big one is definitely, hey, did y'all know that George Lucas made movies that weren't Star Wars? THX 1138, baby. This is bleeding with some THX imagery, some 2001 imagery, just very, very interesting visuals all throughout. Like you were saying, I do agree it's a very slow-paced movie, and there's not as much characterization happening here, so it's a little harder to glom onto. This was my third time watching the movie. And I feel like I get it a little more each time, but I definitely am like, this definitely is not as strong as the movies he would make later. But as a first film, I think it's just incredibly brimming with style and very like he definitely knew what he was doing with like his crew and his cast. And that shows. Apparently, this was the first acting role of the actress who played Elena, which I thought that was interesting.
Eva Bourne, under the name Eva Allen, I think. And she's mostly been in television ever since. Yeah, she did good. She made a lot of interesting faces in this movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, she's not really given a lot to do dialogue wise, but. I definitely think she's a very sympathetic character. Like I get her, and I'm interested in following her and want her to succeed. And we were talking about the Begotten scene. That is just so nuts. I did get to see this in the theater once when Late Night Grindhouse did a double feature of this and Mandy a couple years ago, and the visuals on the big screen hit even harder. It's a good looking movie, good sounding movie too. That's another thing with Panos is great sound design, great use of music, and And Stephen, you were kind of talking about the ending, and I do get where you're coming from. I think there's definitely a little more to be desired. I have mixed feelings about the way they go about Barry's death, because on one hand, he deserved worse. He deserved so much worse. But on the other hand, one of, Panos's kind of trademarks that I've noticed is that his villains tend to be these cretinous, just evil little men who think they're on the path to enlightenment, dying in the most pathetic way possible.
Yes.
Like in Mandy, we have Jeremiah Sands getting on his knees, just begging for his life, going, "I'll blow you, man, I'll suck your fucking dick," and then just gets his head fucking crushed. And in this, we have him just being like, "Please come with me," and then he fucking trips and falls on a rock.
Yeah.
And I, when I saw that in the theater, that death got a laugh. It's funny to me. I do kind of like it on that level of just, yeah, you deserved worse, but this is also just the most pathetic way you could possibly go out. Fuck off. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting movie. Definitely not Panos' strongest work, but he had to make it so that he could grow from there, and so I'm happy it exists, and I'm happy we can talk about it today. But before we talk about it more, we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll see you in a bit. Welcome back from that ad break. Time for another ad. MoviePalette.com. It's a website that contains art pieces with little thin lines representing the dominant color of each frame of a movie. I got one right up there for Panos Cosmatos' next film, Mandy. You can probably get one for Beyond the Black Rainbow. You can certainly get one for Mandy. I got one right there as proof. I don't think you can get one for The Viewing, because it's technically part of a Netflix show, but I don't know. Look into it. You can maybe get one for Begotten. It's just going to be a bunch of black and white strips.
Yeah, I was about to ask if I could get one for like the White Ribbon or something like that.
you can get it custom made for a little extra. Any movie you want, as long as it's not illegal contents. So just go to moviepalette.com and before you check out, enter the code SQUAD15 to save 15% on your order, and we'll get a little bit of money, theoretically, if you do that. So yeah, moviepalette.com, SQUAD15. Back to the show. Alright, we're opening up general discussion. So, the Blu-ray comes with a single special feature. Austin pointed this out to me, and it is a deleted special effect of a melting ballistic head. I watched all 3.5 minutes of it. It's a good looking effect. I imagine it was probably meant to be used during that Begotten scene, where Niles is under the skin shit, and having his trip.
Compared in the Wikipedia article to a French film I've heard is very good. It's called Contempt. Apparently had a recent 4K remaster. There's some sequence called The Battle of the Gods that apparently influenced the part where he's in the water tripping. I meant to check that out before the show, but I just didn't have time for more French New Wave.
What was that guy's? Who made that guy? The obscure. He's really obscure. Who made that movie?
Oh fuck! Jean-Luc Godard. Please tell me I'm not wrong. That would be a dumb thing.
It is Jean-Luc Godard. You're right about that. I couldn't tell if you were doing a bit about Contempt being obscure.
Oh no! I'm sorry. I thought I said it was a very famous, well-known French New Wave movie. My bad. One thing about the ending, and another thing that makes it perfect and not flawed in any way, is what it's doing from a screenwriting perspective. Dr. Barry Allen quite literally trips to death, which probably made people crack up when they talked about it while doing reading sessions. It's worth it for the bit.
That was definitely a bad trip.
So I didn't see this in my viewing of it. I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention, but apparently this film has a quote from Buckaroo Banzai at the end. Have either of you clocked this?
Yeah, it's at the very end of the credits. It's wherever you go, there you are.
Mm-hmm. And that's deeply fitting. It's like a theme from a lot of recent movies. You see this sometimes, like Ad Astra kind of has that theme. Everywhere, all at once. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's like this sobering thing. The idea that you could travel to the edges of space or like outside the dimension, but even those like outlandish experiences don't magically change certain fundamental aspects of your character. Mm-hmm. Like it's an interesting type of journey to take a character on, having them expect to become somebody new from all this external shit, but ignoring actual self-improvement and being shocked when the journey doesn't miraculously like make them a good, better person and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's solid. I really enjoyed the Barry character. Watching him go through shit was real nice. Did the third eye effect look better in theaters, by the way?
I don't remember specifically that. I imagine it probably did. There's something that I noticed here, and this is something I've just been noticing a lot in movies since I have been watching movies on a 4K TV, is just moments where the focus is soft. And like I noticed this a lot, especially on like old movies shot on film, where it looks good on a VHS, it looks good on a DVD, it might even look good on the Blu-ray, but once you get to 4K, you can see that it's just a centimeter soft.
It's like a basilisk if you point out to somebody like missed focus pulls. Because they'll see the first one and be like, okay, that's a little bit anomalous. This doesn't happen all the time. And then if you've got a 4K TV, they're just going to see missed focus pulls for the rest of their fucking life.
Dude, I watched Fire Walk with Me in the theater recently, and there are scenes where it's just soft on the one actor it's focused on.
Hey, that's intentional.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's just that 1 hour-long blood sample where the Coen brothers are sitting down with Barry Sonnenfeld, and most of that entire hour is just them going, John gets us soft. John gets us soft. John gets us soft. And Barry's like, shut the fuck up. But yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes,
sorry.
This is definitely a movie where I think that there are moments wherever, the production design is doing a lot of work, the lighting is doing a lot of work, the specific prop design is doing a lot of work, costume design is doing a lot of work, but there are moments wherever the film, you can tell there's like something going on, or they just couldn't quite get it where they needed it to go. Mm-hmm. Like especially the scene that I was talking about that I like so much, where he's just really close up in focus, and there's these really tight close-ups, and he's like killing the of it, and it's like, well, you're a little soft. You're not quite there, man. There's this one shot where near the end of the film, where it's this huge wide shot of like a big red room, and he like walks into the room and he like lies down into the camera, and I'm just like, you could have just gotten a little bit of contrast against the backdrop just to give this a little bit of depth, because there's something about it that felt very much like we fucked up, we have all white walls, we need to do something with this.
Yeah.
Which, like, his movies mostly don't have, and this movie mostly doesn't have.
Yeah.
I do like the hue cycling at the end of that scene, though, when he gets a whiff of butthole on the bed like he's a cat, and he, like, does this, and it, like, goes from red to blue, kind of, like, breathing along the geometry and shit. I was like, nice work. Wonder if that was, like, some dude in post, like, Panos, get over here! Look at this shit! Maybe it was planned out, but I did like that. In that specific shot. What was it? Stephen, you brought up the monkey. This has a similarity to the monkey. This is Panos' I'm getting over my parents' death movie.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Longlegs is also getting over my parents' movie too.
And I read maybe Mandy is also about Panos mourning the
Yeah.
death of his mom.
Do we know if George Cosmatos is like a boomer who said? I mean, he directed like one of the Rambo movies, like one of the later Rambo movies. That's like fucked up. It's like
I wouldn't call the second one a later movie.
Oh, is it? It's the second one.
It's the second one.
Well,
yeah.
listen. Anything beyond the kind of grounded drama of First Blood.
That's
anything
fair.
that's more like I'm ripped. My chest is so oily that you can see yourself like a mirror is gonna be like a later Rambo.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah.
And then isn't there the whole thing where Cosmatos on Tombstone? Isn't there like the whole thing where he didn't really direct Tombstone? Where there's like the whole idea that Russell took over that production.
I hadn't heard that, but
oh yeah. Here, let me make sure I'm not talking out of my ass while you guys keep the conversation going.
But yeah, no, that what you said is definitely true. I was reading about that too. Well, and I guess he was probably developing this after his mom died, and then maybe his dad died while it was in development. I don't know for sure what the timeline was. But yeah, he said something about how like his parents haunt every frame of this movie. I think was his quote, which is definitely interesting.
And the elevator pitch from the Wikipedia article as well. Again, the best Wikipedia article I have ever read, which is, why we're lifting straight from it, is this movie is a combination of, because his mom was like a sculptor who made really crazy shit. It's a combination of like his father's popcorn movies and his mother's experimental art, which is cool, synthesizing both of your parents into the movie you make. I wish the Fabelmans had played out, a little bit more like that.
But The Fabelmans is a perfect movie. The Fabelmans is a perfect movie, Austin.
You're right. It's a masterpiece. Spielberg's at his peak, even this late in life. You're correct.
What the fuck? No, it's true. I mean, I think that's true. I still can't tell if this is a bit.
Yeah. No, I wish Steven Spielberg had, like, a parent who was, like, a little bit more into listening to, like, Moondog. I wish one of his parents was, like, a Grindhouse movie producer.
There we go. God.
But okay, here we go. So let's see here. A month into filming, this Kevin Jarre, the screenwriter of Tombstone, was fired, and George Cosmatos was hired. Michael Bean recalled feeling director Cosmatos had no understanding or appreciation of the screenplay. The new director brought a demanding, hard-nosed sensibilities that led to conflicts with some of the crew members. Most famous, the cinematographer William Fraker. Here it is. Russell has stated that it was he and not Cosmatos who directed the film, as Jerry's departure led to the studio's request. Russell stated that Cosmatos has brought in as a ghost director, as a frontman, because Russell did not want it to be known that he was directing. But then, of course, there's also like people that conflicted that. But yeah, I honestly, what I take away from that is a hard-nosed approach to set or so, which I'm wondering. Well, no, I can't speculate on George Cosmatos' personality, but you know, I could maybe speculate slightly on it from this movie.
Perhaps.
All of the aged men are all evil boomers. That hurt people and caused me to want to take psychedelics. Or
yeah, another thing that I had
everybody's
read was
a coward.
Another thing that I'd read was that I guess this was sort of a combination of two ideas that Panos had. Like one of them was going to be like a movie about a woman in an asylum, and then the other one was, I think, going to be about an institute. And then he realized I can just make those the same movie, just put them together. I definitely I can't. It doesn't seem like two different movies are competing here. The ideas, I think, definitely blend well.
do you think that would be like a good thing to like suggest amateur filmmakers do? Because there's like, you know, like for your first feature, it's like a lot of people have the criticism like this would have made a great short film. What if to make your first feature you just take 2 short films that you wanted to make and just because it works here, you know?
It works. It works
Maybe that's the
sometimes.
trick.
I mean, like look at Satoshi Kon's Paranoia Agent. It's just 13 things he wanted to make as movies, but was just like, I'm going to make them episodes of a TV show instead. Sometimes you just got to take a bunch of little ideas and make them one big idea. Doesn't
Just
always
create
work.
A nice dramatic
sometimes it
line
works.
through it. That'll work. A nice thematic line will tie that shit together real nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, which is kind of what's going on here, which is just like, oh, this one idea of like the psychedelic guy losing his mind in his home life doesn't necessarily connect with like the cult stuff completely, but hey, I mean, you throw in a little bit of Ronald Reagan into that pot and you just stir that shit up and it'll work just fine. Don't you worry about it.
Ronald Reagan is just the secret.
Give it a little bit of political context and we're all good, baby.
God, how many Trump films are there going to be in like 40 years? He's going to be the new Reagan.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm not gonna. I was gonna say something really dark about where we're all gonna be in 40 years.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like thinking about that, but you're not wrong.
Yeah. I don't think. I certainly hope that we get the chance to make those movies.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. With all that said, let's get into our final thoughts. Steve, we'll start with you.
I think that Beyond the Black Rainbow, again, has a lot of really interesting political ideas. It has a lot of really interesting production design. I think the pacing is obviously very slow in a way that, and kind of disconcerting the way it jumps from one scene to the next scene to the next scene in a way that can kind of, give the audience a little bit of whiplash or at least distancing, to say the least, especially once you roll into the ending where you guys are completely right. Like the filmmaking aesthetic of Barry's death is very pathetic and completely contrasts the entire filmmaking aesthetic of the earlier portions of the movie in a way that I have to think is intentional, because clearly he's very obsessed with like making that very pathetic thing just go down, his death be very pathetic. But it does, I think maybe once you get to Mandy, you kind of figure out, okay, there's a way I can make it story-wise, thematically pathetic, while also not creating such a whiplash from the rest of the movie to like bring all the air out of the room. Yeah. But otherwise, good ideas, interesting thing, not particularly subtle, but whoever needed any of that? I know writers that use subtext.
They're cowards.
Cowards.
Hell yeah. All right.
Any episode with a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place quote. Immediate classic. Perfect.
Hell yeah. Austin, final thoughts.
Beyond the Black Rainbow is fashioned in such a way where the most intense thoughts and feelings you have about the picture might be projections of your own mind cast onto this neon slate. Drugs recommended, patience is required, enlightenment is optional. Not a bad debut, especially considering where Panos went next. Tim, you said it's good because it gave him room to grow. I think we ought to employ a guy. You ever heard that story about the guy who went up to Orson Welles after Citizen Kane and was like, all right, give it up. That's the best thing you're ever going to do. We need to send that guy after every director who makes a feature film debut. Give the old heads a leg up. But yeah, I really enjoy that this thing exists, and I really need Panos Cosmatos to start releasing movies more than once a fucking decade.
Yeah, absolutely. Really hope that Flesh of the Gods and Necrocosm come out sometime while we're still doing this channel. But yeah, this film, Beyond the Black Rainbow, definitely don't love it as much as his other work, but I'm glad he made it so that he could make his other work. It's a very visually and audibly interesting movie, especially for a first-time film. And God, just the style and the themes that he employs here and grows on in his later movies, just very interesting stuff. And like you said, Austin, I hope he makes his next. I hope his next one comes out sooner than they have been. He's really Wong Kar-waiing it out here, and we just need some good food. We just need some good food.
Wong Kar, why haven't you released another movie, fan?
Yeah, there we fucking go. Got his ass. And that's gonna
It's
do it
probably
for
funding.
that's gonna do it for this episode of Bomb Squad Matinee. Thank you for tuning in, Steven. Thank you for coming on the show. Would you like to plug some things? Maybe your new short film.
Oh yeah. Well, I first just I'll plug my website as these things go. Yeah, plug your website. Let's go, brothers.
Yeah.
It's just www.stephentronicek.com. You can check out some animation I've been doing. Check out some of the short films I've made. Some just weird shit that was percolating around the mind. The short film we just shot something in January called Open the Door. We're working on it. It's almost done. I'm really happy with where it's going. It actually reminds me a little bit in some ways of like the approach to this movie, where it's just like, just do something small in like a single room and figure out how to do it. And yeah, I hope people enjoy it. We had a lot of fun making it that one night.
Yeah, we actually shot that the day after you got something on your shirt. I ran sound, so I hope it sounds good.
It does sound good.
Good. I'm excited to see that when it comes out. And check out Steven's other films. He does great work, and his animated stuff is very neat, very Hertzfeld-esque, which is a good thing.
Thank you. That's the hope. That's the hope.
But yeah, thank you for tuning into this episode. If you are listening on any of the audio platforms, please give us a review, thumbs up, tell us how we're doing, give us 5 stars, recommend us to your coworker who likes to listen to us talk about movies. We'd appreciate any additional help we can get. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching this on YouTube. Leave a comment below. Let us know. What did you think of Beyond the Black Rainbow? What do you think of Panos Cosmatos as a director? Do you want to see his next movie within the next 2 years? Comment below and let us know. And while you're down there, hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And hit the bell icon so that Barry can't break into your home. And if you would like to support us further, go ahead and donate to that Patreon. We got 2 reward tiers. $5 tier gets commentary tracks. I recently recorded one with Tanner where we watched the original Godzilla film. I think they just released the Daredevil one. I don't know what we're doing next. We might be doing Sonic 3 soon, so that'll be fun. And if you donate to that $10 tier, you get access to the commentary tracks, and you get a shout-out at the end of the episode. So, Tanya Kraft, thank you for your continued patronage of the channel. We really appreciate all of your help. And if you, too, would like to get a shout-out at the end of these episodes, just donate to that $10 tier. And we will immortalize your name and podcast. And we also just launched a merch store. Go to bombsquadproductions.shop and you can get a shirt or a hat or a poster. I'm gonna send Tanner some PNGs later so that he can make more posters. So we have more movies. Go to the shop, get some merch if you like our stuff and want to give us some support. We'd really appreciate it. And be sure to tune in next time when we continue getting weird. We're going to be talking about the 2000 anime series Fooly Cooly. And it's going to be a good rockin' time. So be sure to tune in. And thank you once again for tuning into this episode. And remember, wherever you go, there you are. Farewell.
Oh, and also one thing. Hit the bell icon to make Barry trip over and smash his head into a rock.
Yeah!
Yeah, just ding, 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 ding.
Slid my ticket across the table and I said, sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl.